Welcome to Rash Thoughts, a podcast about life and all its wonderful challenges. Get ready to change the way you think about yourself and learn why the world needs you. Dean Rash will share his life, his thoughts, and his vision for making our world better for future generations. Now, here is your host, Dean Rash.
Hello and welcome. It's another week of Rash Thoughts, my podcast I put together on a weekly basis. My name is Dean Rash, and these are my thoughts. I love to share my thoughts and ideas with each of you every week. It's kind of a cool thing last week. I was looking at my podcast stats, which I can get, and I happened to notice I got some new downloads in China. I actually had 4 people download my podcast in China, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. So my podcast has now been heard in 6 different countries around the world, and I'm pretty excited about that. Additionally, I just want to remind you that if your school, if you know a school, high school, middle school, or corporate organization that's looking for a keynote speaker, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is dean@deanrash.com. I'd be more than happy to talk to you. I'm excited. I've got a group of 8th graders I'm going to be talking to here in a couple of weeks. And always fun to talk to high school kids and middle school kids and get them kind of fired up about who they are, where they're going in this world, and that they have opportunities galore. Also want to remind people that I do have my book, Always Here, up on Amazon.com. You can always find that there if you're looking for something to help somebody out who's gone through maybe a loss of a parent. And the book is great for restoring hope and adding some faith back into their lives. So that's a little bit about me right then and there. Also want to thank Full Scope Creative and Chris Robinson over there, who's redoing my website. The new website should be up and running in a couple of weeks. And all the preview stuff I've seen is great. So if you need some website help, give Chris Robinson a call over at Full Scope Creative. It's fullscopecreative.com. You can find their website as well. Great resource for any project that you might have. They also do some website hosting, secure hosting, which is really important today. So here's my topic for this week. We'll talk about focus, okay? So focus can be either good or it can be bad. And I think about the scenario, think about athletes, right? Professional athletes, golfers especially. Golfers have this tremendous amount of focus, this ability to focus under extreme pressure, things that most of us can't do. I mean, if you're sitting on the 18th hole of the 4th round of the Masters and you've got a 5-foot putt that you have to sink to win the tournament outright, and the difference between that putt, making that putt and missing that putt is hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, we'd all be shaking. We'd all love the opportunity to try it, right? But we would be shaking. How do you focus? You've got millions of people watching you on TV. You've got thousands sitting around there completely dead silent, watching as you line up this putt and swing the club, and hopefully it goes in. That takes a tremendous amount of focus. So focus can be used in such a positive way. But there's also times I think that focus kind of gets in the way, like we get blinders on, right? We get too focused. We get tunnel vision. And that can be a bad thing. I want to share a couple of stories with you. And I heard this one just recently, and I'll share this one first, and then I'm going to give you a personal experience that I went through as well that I think kind of plays into this too. But the story was they had a group of seminary students, and they were helping them. They're doing a little bit of a research study on this group of seminary students, or this research project using the students, I should say. And what it was is they wanted to see how they would react when they're put under pressure versus given some time. So they all had a number of different students. They all had a presentation that they had to make. Now, this presentation was being made in a different building from where they were prepping for it. So in the preparation process, they're going through the presentation. It's kind of I don't want to say a high pressure, but kind of a high level, important type of presentation that they have to give. And so they go through this preparation, and then certain students are told, hey, you know what? You got to go. I mean, you're late. You got to hurry up and get to that other building because you're late for your presentation. You can't be late for this presentation. And so they sent them out, and they went, thinking and scurrying across campus. They got their mind set. They've got to get this presentation done. They're focused on getting it. They're getting themselves centered and understanding what they have to do. And they walk across the campus, and what they don't realize is that something has been staged. Now, the other group of students were given the exact same presentation to give in the exact same scenario of where they had to go. The only difference was they were told you have plenty of time to get there. And the difference is there was something staged. There was a person in distress, a person needing some kind of medical assistance, medical support, whatever it might be. And the students that were under pressure to get to that other building, who had gotten themselves focused on making that trip as quickly as possible and getting their mind right to make that presentation, scurrying across campus, stress. Not all of them, but a good majority of them. Now, these are people who are committing their lives. They're going to do things that many of us, we don't have the commitment to do in terms of helping others. And even they, under that pressure and that intense focus on getting to a certain point in a certain place, missed those people that were in distress. So the next group, who didn't have that pressure on them, they actually were able to catch, most of them caught the person in distress and were able to stop and help them. And it's just a good example of how sometimes we can get tunnel vision, that we're not aware of our surroundings because we put so much effort and so much force and so much thought and focus, I guess, into something specific that we can't see the stuff going on around us that might need us, might need our help, might need our love, might need our support, might need our caring, whatever it might be. So that reminded me, when this person told me this story, that reminded me of a situation I was involved in when my son was fairly young. I want to say he might have been 2.5 years old. And we were at a water resort in Wisconsin. And in this resort, he and I decided we had to go get some supplies or some groceries or whatever it was. And I took my son with me. Now, he had a sucker that he was eating, and we were driving along, and he's back in the back seat just yapping away, talking. And as we got closer to our destination, I realized he was kind of quiet. And so I looked back in the mirror of the rearview mirror of the car, and I kind of positioned it down so I could see him. And I looked at him, and he had just these huge eyes, just this vision of terror on his face. And I can see his mouth is opening, and he's trying to grab air in, and he can't breathe. And I'm looking at his face, and he just looks terrified. He was choking. A piece of the sucker had got lodged in his throat, and he was choking, not getting any air. I'm on a 4-lane road through this city with a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on it, and I quickly realize what's going on, and I stop the car as quickly as I can. I get out. He's on my side of the vehicle, so he's on the driver's side of the vehicle. My door I flip open, I leave it open. His door I fling open, I leave it open. We are blocking traffic. People have to literally go around us slowly to get by us. I undo his car seat. I grab him out of the car seat. I lay him across my arm, supporting his head in my hands, and I start whacking his back as hard as I can to get that piece of sucker out. I'm absolutely terrified. My body is shaking. I'm looking at people with this look of, please, somebody stop and help me. I don't know what to do look on my face. This took all of a matter of, 2 minutes tops from stopping to getting out to whatever it was. I was passed by dozens of cars, and not one person stopped to offer help. Not one person stopped to ask me if there was something that they could do. I was standing in traffic, whacking my kid on the back, holding him in the Heimlich position you're supposed to hold them in when they're children. And nobody stopped. Not one person. Not one person tried to make a call to help. Nothing. And I thought, holy crap. Number one, I got lucky. I got the sucker out of my son's mouth. And he was breathing. He was crying. I was holding him. And I'm just looking at people going by and nothing. And I don't know why. I mean, are we that afraid in this world that to help other people, that when we see something like that, we can't step in and offer assistance? Or is it because we're so focused on our own world and our own purpose and our own place of where we're going and what we're doing that we can't see the other stuff around us that might need help? And I think it's a little bit of both, right? But I want to put this into the focus side of the conversation. And I think sometimes, in general, as people, especially in this country, we get so incredibly focused that our blinders are on. We can't see what's happening around us. We can't see that somebody needs help. I mean, we might walk down the street or go to work, and we might see somebody one day who's kind of quiet and they're not really saying anything, and it's kind of out of character for them. And we might say, "How you doing?" They might go, "Oh, I'm okay," but they might not be. And then we get into the position where, well, it's really not my position to get into their business. But what if they do need something? Where do we start to be different? Where do we start to forget about ourselves and our own purpose and our own focus so much that just for a moment we can maybe help somebody else out? How do we get to a point in our lives where we can step out of ourselves and look for ways to make other people better, help them out, support them, whatever it might be? It's not easy. I'm telling you that right now. It's not easy. Are going to struggle doing it. I mean, it can be extremely uncomfortable. Extremely uncomfortable. When you've got a friend or a colleague or somebody, you throw that out there and say, "Hey, how can I help you? What's going on?" And all of a sudden they dump on you with all that stuff. All of a sudden it can be really uncomfortable. But you know what the difference is? That's part of being human. That's part of the human experience, being able to interact with and connect with other people and help them out in a time of need. That's what we're here for. We can't just ignore people and expect things to get better. I think we do too much of that already in this country. There's so many times in this country that I think we just ignore things and we hope they get better, or we hope somebody else will take care of it. That's not up to somebody else to do it. It's up to us. If that emotional connection comes into you where it says, I think I should do something, but maybe not, because that's probably somebody else's responsibility, or somebody else will take care of it. Somebody else might not take care of it. They might have the same opinion that you do. Then who's going to do it? Right? We have a responsibility as human beings to do something to help other people out. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it can suck sometimes. I know it can put you in a bad position, because sometimes people will take advantage of that. And we can't let that happen either. So there's got to be a balance. And I know this is kind of going in circles here a little bit on this conversation, but we've got to think about it, right? We have an obligation as human beings to help each other out. Now, if that person is willing to be helped and wants to be helped and truly is committed to doing something different, then we help them, right? But we can't be so focused in our world that we lose that sense of perception, that sense of awareness that there is need out there in the world. And just throwing dollars at it here and there, that's great, but that doesn't always help the cause. Sometimes we just need hands, right? We need blue-collar hands in there working with people, helping them out, making them better, giving them some hope, giving them some direction, giving them some, sometimes maybe they need a swift kick in the ass too. Who knows, right? But we can't just walk away from it. So I think when I think about focus, I think focus can be good and focus can be bad. Bad's maybe a strong word, but you get what I'm going with it. So focus can be a good thing, or focus can be maybe a not so good thing, right? We can be so focused on our futures and our careers and our this and that we achieve our goals, and that's a great thing. But we can't be so focused in our lives that we ignore some of the needs around us. We need to be open and available to seeing those needs, to participating and helping in those situations, because we can still be focused on our careers and our families and this and that, but we also need to be aware when something else is coming into play that might need our attention. Because as I say all the time, everybody that I know has some kind of unique gift or talent or passion that this world absolutely has to have. You are here for a reason. You have something this world needs. But if we become so focused on ourselves that we can't use those talents, gifts, and passions to help everybody else out, then I think they kind of go to waste. And we don't want that to happen. So I want you guys to be focused on your lives. I want you to be focused on being better, but I want you to be aware of how you can make a general positive impact on the world around you, on your community, on your family, on your friends, neighbors, maybe on the nation as a whole, whatever your calling is. So until next week, I want you to keep living your life on purpose.
Thank you for listening to Rash Thoughts. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and to follow Dean on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Help us change the world by liking and sharing this podcast so others can be inspired too. If your company or organization is looking for a speaker, contact Dean at dean@deanrash.com or visit his website, deanrash.com.